Another thing the sauropods had with those 4 feet is they had massive legs. And that was so that they can carry all that weight. Sauropods were known for their size. Even the smallest ones were around 20 feet long. Hello everyone! Welcome to Nature Explorers, presented by the Danbury Public Library. Now normally here on Nature Explorers we talk about animals that are alive and on the earth today. But for the next chunk of times we meet, we're going to do something a little different. We are going to go back in time. So I borrowed a time machine. Don't worry, it's bigger than it looks. And we are going to use this to go back, way back to prehistoric times to see what Earth was like millions of years ago. Now last time we looked at fossils. This time we're on the hunt for some of the largest land animals to ever walk the earth. Yep, this time we're looking for dinosaurs. At this point I should ask that you please keep all hands and items inside the time machine while we're traveling. Thank you! Dinosaurs first appeared on the earth between 243 to 233 million years ago. They became the most common vertebrates. These are creatures with internal skeletons, around 201.3 million years ago. This was towards the end of the Triassic period and the beginning of the Jurassic. And as we found out last time, Earth looked very different back then. When dinosaurs were roaming the Earth, the 7 continents we now have on Earth, Africa, Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, and South America, were still close together. The supercontinent of Pangaea was in the process of breaking up and moving apart thanks to plate tectonics that we talked about last time. Things were changing and it was an exciting time, one that gave rise to some of the most massive creatures to ever walk the earth. Now unfortunately, we don't know a great deal about these amazing creatures. The last of the dinosaurs went extinct around 65 million years ago, and all we have of them are some fossils to help us learn. But one thing we do know is that dinosaurs actually can be split into 2 groups. The Sarsakia, or lizard-hipped dinosaurs, and the Ornithischia, or bird-hipped dinosaurs. Sarsakia, or lizard-hipped dinosaurs, all had their hip bones that separated at the bottom, with part of their pelvis bone more towards the front and the other part more towards the back. This made their pubic bone face down and to the front. Now why is this important? Well, it's important because this gave many dinosaurs the ability to walk on 2 legs, same as we do. Walking on 2 legs is known as bipedalism. So Tyrannosaurus rex, he was a lizard-hip or Sauraskia dinosaur. This Sauraskia group is a very large one. It includes all the carnivorous or meat-eating dinosaurs and 1 or 2 of the primary groups of herbivores or plant-eating dinosaurs. Dinosaurs in the Sauraskia group fall into 2 different smaller categories. There are theropods, like T-Rex, and then there are sauropods, which are the largest dinosaurs. Ornithischia dinosaurs are bird-hipped ones. While the hip bones of the Sauraskia had their hip bone facing more towards the front, the Ornithischia had theirs facing more towards the back. We call these dinosaurs bird-hipped ones because their pelvis resembles that of modern birds. Ornithischias were mainly herbivores, with a few omnivores, animals that eat both plants and meat, mixed in. Sauraskia and Ornithischia was how the dinosaurs were divided up for over 130 years. But things are starting to change. And the reason for this change? Modern birds. See, birds are the only living descendants of dinosaurs. Yep, think on that the next time you eat a chicken nugget. But while their hips point more backwards like the Ornithischia, it's always been believed that they are more closely descended from Sauraskia dinosaurs like T-Rex. Thanks to people's curiosity and research, we now are beginning to think that dinosaurs like T-Rex, a group known as theropods, may actually be more closely related to the bird-hipped dinosaurs, the Ornithischia, and not the lizard-hipped dinosaurs, the Sauraskia. A lot of people are promoting the idea that we should actually move the theropods into the Ornithischia group, even though their hips are slightly different, because of the descendant line into birds. And that's what's amazing about learning about dinosaurs. Because again, so much we don't know that every time we find something new, it might actually change everything we know. So today, we're going to look for some of the really big ones, the lizard-hipped sauropods. This group of dinosaurs includes some of the largest dinosaurs ever, and some of the largest creatures that actually ever walked on the earth. Now, the fact that I keep mentioning ever walked on the earth is actually very important, and we'll get to that here in a bit. So these guys, these sauropods, they are mostly herbivores, plant eaters. And they had long necks and long tails, and they walked on 4 feet. Big, huge footsteps quaking the ground as they walked. And since they walked on all 4 feet, they were what are known as quadrupeds, 4-footed. They had teeny tiny little heads for those massive bodies. And because their heads were so small and actually very delicate, we don't have a lot of their heads. It's really true. Paleontologists can find almost a full sauropod body, the whole skeleton, but they will often be missing the head. And the reason for that is because that head sat on that extremely long neck. And even though their necks had lots of really powerful muscles in them, you can't have something too heavy on that long of a neck. So sauropod heads tended to be small, and they tended to have lots of kind of air pockets in them. What this means is the skull developed with empty pockets inside. And because of this, a lot of them didn't survive the fossilization process. They got crushed. Now, another thing the sauropods had with those 4 feet is they had massive legs. And that was so that they can carry all that weight. Sauropods were known for their size. Even the smallest ones were around 20 feet long. That's slightly shorter than the longest land animal currently alive today, which is the reticulated python, which reaches lengths of nearly 23 feet. Wow! So even the smallest of this type of dinosaur is almost as big as the current largest land animal. It's amazing, right? So what's your favorite dinosaur? Mine is the Brachiosaurus. Its name means arm lizard due to the fact that its forelegs were actually larger and longer than its back legs. So it kind of stood with this really big, long front legs and then these kind of almost squat back legs. It made the front very tall. Brachiosaurus was first discovered in 1903, and for the longest time it was believed to be the biggest dinosaur that ever lived. Brachiosaurus was over 75 feet in length, and they were around 39 feet tall. So that's about the length of 2 of your big school buses that you ride to school, and the height of a 4-story tall building. Wow, right? He's taller than most of the buildings that are downtown. That's amazing. Can you imagine walking downtown? He'd get stuck in some power lines, wouldn't he? Another neat thing about these dinosaurs is they didn't walk plantigrade like we do. Plantigrade is when your toes and your heel touch the ground flat. It makes it very good for walking on 2 feet because we have a lot of surface to support our body weight. But these guys didn't walk like that. They were digigrade, which would be as if we were walking around on our toes and the balls of our feet. And you've tried doing that a couple times? We can do it, right? It's kind of awkward. Well, that's what these guys did all the time. Their heel didn't actually touch the ground. They walked on their toes. And we can see digigrade animals a lot. In fact, if you have dogs and cats in your house, they're walking digigrade. They're walking on their toes. And that little bit that kind of pops out over their foot, that's actually their heel. Kind of cool, huh? Like all sauropods, Brachiosaurus was a herbivore. Due to its huge size, it was known as a high-level browser, which means it was able to reach much higher into the trees than other herbivores. So he didn't have to compete quite as much with the other shorter animals for food. He could actually get high up into the high trees and get stuff that was up there. Another huge dinosaur, big old sauropod that was walking around, was one known as Diplodocus. And this is probably one of the most iconic of the sauropods. And that's because for the longest time, Diplodocus was known as one of the longest dinosaurs out there. They were around 85 feet in length, about the length of an entire basketball court. Wow. And their neck alone was 26 feet long, and the tail, that massive tail, was 45 feet long. Whoa! In fact, that long tail of theirs may have likely helped them fend off enemies. Scientists believe that Diplodocus could whip those tails around at speeds of 800 miles per hour. Oh, that's faster than the speed of sound, and it would give off an amazingly loud whip-crack sound and smack other animals away from it. Cool, right? So far, the reason why Diplodocus was for so long an iconic dinosaur is because one of the sauropods we have found the most complete skeletons of. So it's very easy to see Diplodocuses in museums because there are just so many of the full skeletons, which is really cool. Still, despite this long body, they were fairly lightweight compared to other sauropods, weighing in at around 24,000 pounds. They lived on a diet of leaves from trees and plants. Scientists have found that Diplodocus would also swallow stones to help it digest their food. In this process, well, it likely would have left them kind of gassy. And the less said about a creature that large breaking wind, the better. So we're going to move on. The largest sauropods that ever lived, that we've ever found so far, I should say, are known as Titanosauruses. And these guys were huge. One of the largest Titanosauruses was Dreadnoughtus. This name means fears nothing. This colossus reached a length of roughly 85 feet and weighed an estimated 65 tons. That is 130,000 pounds. Heavier than a Boeing 747 airplane and weighs more than 7 African elephants. Whatever you do, do not let the sky step on your foot. Fossils of dreadnoughts have been found in southern Patagonia, Argentina, and have been dated back to 77 million years ago. The dreadnought is the only supermassive titanosaur for which both the femur, a leg bone, and the humerus, an arm bone, from the same dinosaur have been found. Usually what happens is that paleontologists find bits of a dinosaur, and then they'll find bits from a similar dinosaur in another location. So finding two of these arm and leg bones from the same dinosaur is actually very important. This means that they can use those to calculate very confidently the weight of the animal and the size of the animal. We found more bones of the dreadnoughts than we have of this next dinosaur, but the bones we have found of the next dinosaur show that it may even be larger than the Dreadnoughtus, which, as far as we know right now, is the largest dinosaur to ever walk the earth. And this dinosaur is the Argentinosaurus. Fossils of Argentinosaurus were discovered back in 1987 when a fossil the size of a full-grown human being was dug up on a ranch in Argentina. The ranch owner thought this fossil was actually a large chunk of petrified wood. It wasn't until 1993 that scientists took a closer look and realized that this was actually, in fact, a single vertebrae, one of the bones that goes down the spine from a whole new species of sauropod. And this was an amazing discovery. So far, no whole skeletons of Argentinosaurus have been found. Still, based on what they have found, scientists have estimated that Argentinosaurus may have been between 121 to 131 feet long. It's also believed that this dinosaur could have weighed between 99 to 110 tons. That is 198,000 to 220,000 pounds. Whoa! This would make Argentinosaurus the largest dinosaur as well as the largest land animal to ever walk the earth. As I said before, it's very important that I'm mentioning the largest animal to ever walk the earth because there's a larger animal. Yeah, there is. And the thing is, this larger animal, larger in weight than any dinosaur, is still alive today. It is. It's going to be something very hard for you to actually see in person because it's so massive. We can't keep it in an area where we can easily see it. And it is the blue whale. The blue whale is currently, as far as we know, the largest by weight animal to ever live anywhere on the earth and at any time of the earth, and it is still around today. These guys weigh up to 200 tons or 400,000 pounds. Wow, it's amazing, right? And the really cool thing about the blue whale, because I really like blue whales too, is that even though they're huge, they're not meat eaters. They actually eat plankton. And they have, in that humongous huge body of them, a throat that is so narrow, it wouldn't even be able to swallow a grapefruit. That's really cool, huh? Yeah, because they eat itty bitty little guys like krill and plankton, and that's how they live. So that's all for this trip. So I will see you in a couple of weeks when we go on our next trip, when we look at the other branch of Saurolophus dinosaurs, the Theropods. This is where we're going to run across T-Rex. Really cool, huh? Yeah. So I will see you then, and until then, stay happy and stay curious. Bye, everyone.